Hi, welcome back to the Sales Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Ingram. Today, we are joined by the VIPs as well as by Eric Huberman, a titan in the world of marketing and entrepreneurship, and near and dear to all of our hearts. Eric's journey from launching successful e-commerce ventures in his early 20s, he's not that much older than that too, right? To creating Hawk Media, a powerhouse in the marketing consultancy industry, and it's nothing short of spectacular. Today, he's going to share insights from his rapid ascent, right, in the digital marketing space, discuss the power of innovative analytics with Hawk AI, and reveal how strategic investment via Hawk Ventures is shaping the future of marketing. So get ready to gain some actionable strategies that could redefine your approach to business and marketing. So let's get the show started.
Welcome to War Games, hosted by the sales genius Joe Ingram. If you're looking to win the sales battle, then you have joined the right team. In the War Games group, we devise strategies for sales, marketing, branding, mindset, and attitude. We enlist the assistance from the most successful producers across all industries. We then share their knowledge and techniques with you. Our single goal is to get you ready for your next sales opportunity. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that have crossed before you. Now, prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for the War Games to begin.
All right, welcome, War Gamers, and those of you listening on the Sales Genius Podcast. I'm going to bring the VIPs up on stage, co-hosting with Brian Galkey, as usual, plus straight from Northern California or Central California is Bob Donnell, Mr. Next Level.
Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen. I'm going to move things around a little bit because we've got Eric coming up from the side. Eric, switch with me. There we go. So, Eric, as you heard, I was bragging on you. So, I want to give everybody out there a chance. I brought my notepad and my pen because I am ready to get some information from you and Hawk Media, how you got to where you were, and what do you recommend for all the hungry entrepreneurs out there that need to excel. Now I'm going to throw a link up here in the bottom for Hawk Media down there.
Awesome.
So
take it away.
It's all you. Please run with it.
All right. Didn't want to overstep. So yeah, I mean, I could just start with how I got here. I'm honestly, there's a lot of luck involved in success. I think that one of my favorite lines about success is you need to work hard enough and be smart enough, and then timing is everything. And when I hear timing, you can't predict timing. So luck. But that does mean you have to work your ass off, and you have to also be smart enough, because those two things are critical to be successful. That doesn't mean Mensa. That doesn't mean the smartest person in the world. In fact, that might work against you, but you do have to actually be thoughtful in what you're doing. But yeah, in a nutshell, I was forced down this path in a good way. I graduated 2008, went into real estate as a commercial real estate agent, because I actually always liked sales. I did Cutco in college and broke a bunch of their records and crushed it, and realized that, you know, the cliche I heard about myself a lot was I could sell ice to Eskimos. And so I knew I had a talent for that. And I learned a lesson even earlier than that. I thought I would grow up and be a musician. I played guitar, and I was, about being a rock star. And then around my teenage years, I realized I wasn't that good. I loved it. I loved playing, but I'm not that talented. And it turns out, everybody talks about pursuing your passions and the money will follow, but I think you have to actually be decent at your passions for the money to follow. And what I realized halfway through college was I was good at sales, and I was good at, figuring out what made people tick and that side of it. And it was fun. So it wasn't that it was like, if anyone never said, what are you passionate about? No, I wouldn't have said selling, but I was good at it. And when you're successful and good at something, you become passionate about it. And so went into real estate exactly a week before Lehman Brothers collapsed and the rest of the banking industry. Made $350 that year. It was awesome. And then started scrambling to figure out what I'd do next, and ended up launching an online music company in 2009, raising $1 million for it, and growing it for 2 years, getting it to profitability. And it was basically like, think of masterclass targeting independent artists to teach them about the music industry and how to make money. Had a bunch of amazing record execs jump on board, did really well with it. Again, in hindsight, raising that kind of money at 22 years old in 2009 was insane. And I didn't know what I was doing with that. But yeah, from there, 2 years in, realized it would never be that big of a business, hired a CEO to take over, and moved on. Built one of the first e-commerce subscription companies called Swag of the Month, sold it a year and a half later, joined an incubator called Science that had just launched a company called Dollar Shave Club, advised on their portfolio of brands, helped them launch an activewear company called Ellie that we sold a year later to Bally Total Fitness. It's still running today, Ellie.com. And that was 11 years ago almost. Took a week off, I think it was, and then started advising and consulting for a bunch of brands to figure out growth. And, later in 2013, I started to see that, like, on the marketing side, 99% of people have no idea what they're doing. Marketers, agencies, like, what's sad is I have yet to meet a business owner that hasn't had a bad agency experience. Like, what other industry is that a thing? It's insane. So I had experienced that myself. I then saw it with these companies I was advising for and went, screw it, I'm going to go hire my own team and help these people out. So in January of 2014, hired a small team, my little SWAT team of marketers. And, my goal being, we're going to be the best at what we do, but easy to work with. And that's what we did. And, the secret sauce for the entrepreneurs in the room, the way we grew were a few things. One, start a business in something you're good at. Like, I had built and sold 2 companies. I actually understood marketing. I knew how this stuff works. So when I signed clients and sold them into it, they stuck with me. They kept paying me. They paid me more. They scaled. They told other people. The reputation started growing. Like, I see, because agencies specifically in marketing, there's no barrier to entry. There's no license. There's nothing that you need. There's no regulation. Everybody that watches a Gary Vaynerchuk video or a Tai Lopez, download thinks that they're now able to run an agency. And you're about to set yourself up for a lot of heartache and a lot of failure, because at the end of the day, you can fake your way into selling clients, but they're not going to stick around. You're going to churn through business like none other. You're going to end up on a hamster wheel. You're never going to make money. And we see this a lot because we do a lot of M&A now and buy agencies. A lot of them, they get to maybe $1 million in revenue. They have zero profit, meaning they don't actually make any money doing this. They work like I do. They work like they're running a big business because there's so much to do. And they have this hamster wheel of like, oh, I got to make payroll, but I can't keep my clients because we don't know what we're doing. And this turns into this vicious cycle that's miserable. And they end up in a ton of debt trying to keep the thing afloat. So we see this problem. And I kept seeing that with these other agencies. So I just went, I'm just going to build my own. And so again, the secret sauce was, number one, we knew what we were doing. And then quickly I brought on someone in the very beginning that really took over the day-to-day operation so I could focus on growth, and my partner, Tony. And from then on, I focused on how we're going to grow this business. And I was incessant. And still to this day, I'm at a different event every day this week, every evening. I have one after this show, actually. I have a dinner tomorrow. Friday, I'm hosting an event. Saturday, I have an event in the evening, and Sunday in the middle of the day. Like, I am always out meeting people, gaining network, knowing that I have a team behind me that can execute. We've built a great, execution arm. And then we just built the abilities to do so. And so that was, and then after that, I would say how we built the business was reactively. I think everybody gets stuck on proactivity, and there's aspects of that we did, don't get me wrong. But I think a lot of people will hire ahead of the growth, or will say, we're prepping for where we know we're going and try to predict the future. And that is one of the worst things you can do from a cost management standpoint. Like, wait for something and then spend the money.
Yeah, like, no revenue and you're spending.
Yes, very common thing. And that's that piece. And I'll get more into the sales and marketing aspect in a sec. But that was a really important part. And then on the innovative side, definitely pay attention to where you think the market's going and make some calls, but don't bet the farm. I think, I always hear how risky entrepreneurship is, and I actually think it's more about risk management than being risky. Like, I don't think I've taken that much risk starting this company or building it, honestly. Like, I purposely didn't. If I had taken significant risk, then when I called my shots wrong, we would have been out of business. But instead, I constantly take calculated risk, and I try things and I spend things. But if it goes wrong, I'm still in business. And so, one of those things, we built our own AI system that you mentioned that we're digesting 8,000 companies' marketing, media, and revenue data in real time so that I can take an individual company, measure them against the market, and know exactly what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, and where the opportunities are. And so through doing that, we wasted $1 million before we ever had a product, just gone. We tried building it 3 times and it was gone. And then I bought a company for a lot of money and then integrated that. We've spent money on that now for 2 years. So yeah, I mean, we're probably in this project for, well into a few $1 million, the mid millions, maybe getting closer to, 7, 8, 9 at this point, building this product. That being said, I have faith that this is going to be a big thing. And if it isn't, if this goes belly up tomorrow, yeah, I wasted a lot of money, but my business is still here. My life
still in business.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it wasn't you borrowed every dollar against your business to go get it. No, I love that. I love that. And so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, now I can talk to like the marketing side and how we like look at how do you generate this? How do you get the growth going? Because that's, again, where I've focused for years. And
right. That's where I was headed. I was going to say you successfully navigated multiple ventures now, right? And now you're into the Hawk ventures, right? But what advice do we give to entrepreneurs looking to make a significant impact, right, in their highly competitive markets, right? For example, Bob himself has a lot of different ventures that he puts on. And again, the focus is how do you get the next level of yourself? How do you take your business to the next level, your person to your next level? Brian Galke, he's the founder of Subtle Skills. He's the facial analysis guy. But at the same time, you have to say, how do I get myself out there? How do I put myself in the right place? And I don't want to spend, thousands of dollars and run it through a Facebook ad that gets nothing.
Totally.
Right?
And I think, early days, I always say, like, in the beginning, what your luxury is time. Not because it is actually a luxury, but because you don't have any money, and it's time or money that you're spending here. And if you have no money, it's time, you got to spend time. And so, we wrote the book, The Hawk Method, which is like our basics for marketing. And we talk about like the way to really build a marketing campaign it comes down to 3 pillars: awareness, nurturing, and trust. And this applies to any business, any personal brand, anything. Number 1, awareness. How do I let people know I exist? And there's a lot of ways to do that, obviously, and advertising is one of them, and the most scalable one and the most expensive part of marketing. So when you don't have the money, you go to events, you meet people, you drive word of mouth. Like, the best way to drive word of mouth, by the way, is exactly what Bob and Brian have, which is a very easy to articulate pitch or sentence that other people can then introduce you and be like, this is how. And for me, for a long time, I was your outsourced CMO and marketing team. So all these people would be like, oh, you got to talk to Eric. He's like your outsourced CMO. It was super easy because the first time someone tries to explain what you do to someone else and they get tripped up, they'll never do it again. And so make it easy on them and you get word of mouth. And word of mouth is still the biggest driver of business. So I really believe in enabling that. And I also come from the school of thought that if you have a good business with the right margins and the right price point and the right market and differentiator and a good product or service, like all the core things that you need, then marketing should be easy. Because if it's not, something's wrong with your business. I get into this debate quite a bit with smaller companies where they're like, oh, well, Facebook ads don't work for us. It's like, if Facebook doesn't work for you, your business is broken, not Facebook. It's too easy of a platform to use. It's too easy of a marketing channel. You need to figure out why your business can't afford to do that type of marketing. A lot of times it's a margin problem. Sometimes it's a differentiation problem. Don't get me wrong. You do need to get to a point in business where you can swallow the timelines and the optimization times it takes to get advertising working. Don't just jump into Facebook immediately. But once you have your business running, like it's a real business and you have, revenue coming in, if you can't run advertisements, especially on the most targeted ad platforms like a Google or a Facebook, successfully, you got to fix something in your business, not duck out of those platforms. And so that's the awareness piece, is how do you get out there? Nurturing, the biggest thing people miss in sales and marketing, which I'm baffled by, is the idea of a sales cycle or consideration period when they're measuring everything. Like, it takes people time to make a decision. It's easier to understand this on the sales side because you're talking to them. You know that, oh, we got to have a second phone call, a third phone call. I got to have a closing call. I got to then talk to their boss because they got to run it by their board. And then they want to talk to me again. Then they want to renegotiate, just having fun with it. But you get it. You're having lots of conversations. On a direct to consumer brand or something that doesn't talk to their customer directly, that same thing is happening. They're just doing it with themselves and your website. And so that cycle you need to be doing things to bring them closer to a close. In sales, you're talking to them, you're handling objections. But in general marketing, which is, I consider marketing is more of like a one-to-many sales strategy. And when you're doing marketing, you have to do those same things. So using email marketing and SMS and content and all these things to help handle objections before they come up, or because they're never going to come up, you don't get that opportunity, as well as giving them more reasons to buy so that you can increase your close rate and accelerate that sales cycle. That's what nurturing is. And then the last piece, trust, which is synonymous with brand. When you first come out there and nobody knows who you are, it's all about third-party validation. It's testimonials, reviews, influencers, celebrities, whatever you press, whatever you can do to give yourself credibility. And then once you start to establish yourself and there's some consistency, what you're consistent with becomes your brand. And so a couple fun little tricks there. So to build trust on the third-party validation side, here's a fun one. Have any of the three of you watched How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
Okay. No, it's perfect. So for those that don't know, it's about Ted, the main character, telling his kids in the future how he met their mother, and like it's like a cute sitcom with his dating escapades, and he's a really sweet guy. But his best friend Barney is a total womanizer and always trying to set him up. So Barney's favorite thing to do.
That's Brian in this.
Brian, he's always trying to set you up.
He's always the womanizer.
No, but my daughter has seen that show, and she's like, "Can we watch the Barney show?" She doesn't even know what it's called.
That's awesome.
I'm not talking the Purple Dinosaur either.
Yeah, it's Neil Patrick Harris. He's hilarious, but
yes.
he and again, it's cute. It's not as bad as I made it sound, but the idea is he goes up to girls in the bar because he wants to help Ted meet girls. So he'll go up to random girls and be like, "Hey, have you met Ted?" And just like introduce them. And they always go like, "Huh?" And they like don't know Barney, but they're like, "No, hi, Ted." And they shake his hand and move on. And it's TV, don't get me wrong, but that's human nature. When you get an intro from someone and you go and they go, "Hey, you should meet this person," you might not know that other person, but you already feel more trust for that person that was introduced to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
using that in the sense of marketing and sales, where it's like, you just need some validation from someone else and understanding that. Great example. Do you guys use Amazon? Do you all shop on Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you ever read the reviews when you buy a product?
Yeah. Occasionally.
Do you guys all believe that a lot of those reviews are bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Great. Reflect on that for a sec. I'll check the reviews knowing they're BS, but still look at them to buy. By the way, me too. And I speak about this all the time, but I still do it because there's something in our biology that we need to go look at for that validation, because we all want to make sure that the other guy ate the berry first and didn't die. So because of that, these things all work in the same type of psychology. And so understanding that is a great way to build trust. And then brand, going back to that, as you get further down the path, what you deliver consistently is what becomes your brand, good and bad. So a good example is, name a company you guys think of when I say horrible customer service.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a Persian restaurant that we really like that's near my house.
So great food, but horrible service.
Absolutely. So it's one that you have to say, do I really want to go there, or shall I just Uber Eats so I get the good food and not put up with them? Yes. And Tom said Target.
Target. Okay. So what's fun is almost always I hear someone yell out either a cable company or a cell phone company. They're known for it. So, but we'll use Target. So Target, horrible customer service. What do you guys think of when I say great customer service? There's a brand that's out there, and I'm curious if it comes to mind.
Chick-fil-A.
I've
always said Nordstrom's, but
Nordstrom, yeah, that's a good one. Zappos was all about it too.
Yeah.
And so Zappos literally wrote the book Delivering Happiness and emphasized it. And so what ends up happening is what you emphasize and what you're consistent with becomes your brand. So Zappos would order pizzas for their customer. Like a customer could call and be like, "Can you send a pizza?" They'd be like, "Yeah," and they'd order you a pizza. Like they'd spend 8 hours on the phone with a lonely, person that just wanted to talk to them. Like they were just like, we're going to overemphasize customer service, and they became known for it, which made it so when people are trying to decide where do I buy my shoes, well, I'm always going to be taken care of here, so I'm going to buy from Zappos. Vice versa, Target, never going to take a return, handle you horribly, so you're going to lean away from that. Now on the brand side, here's what gets fascinating. Over time, you emphasize that, you emphasize it. When I call Target to return something or to have a customer service problem and they handle it poorly, I go, "I knew it. I hate Target. They're always so bad, blah, blah, blah." If I call Zappos and they handle it poorly, I go, "That's weird. They're always so good. That person must have had a bad day." Same experience, different confirmation bias. Vice versa, if I call Target and I have a great experience, I go, well, at least one person works there that's any good. And if I call Zappos and go, have a good experience, I'm like, see, they're so good. I got to keep buying from them. So confirmation bias comes into branding really importantly. McDonald's, horrible for you. I don't care if they try to change that completely and they become the healthiest restaurant in the country, they're going to have a very tough time from anyone ever believing it. So
True.
Now, to be clear, you can't, and by the way, what's really important is to talk about it too, because I use this as an example, not politics related, meaning this is not an endorsement, but Make America Great Again is a great slogan.
Absolutely.
And I will say at the time, I actually tried to help the Hillary campaign because I was like, I'm with her. You're literally telling people to vote for her because she's a woman. That's not a slogan. That's terrible. Make America Great Again. You say it over and over again. People naturally start to just believe it. Now, if you then don't back it up, it doesn't last very long. So for a campaign slogan, it can work. But if you are a company and you're like, we're the best at this, like you're the best customer service and delivering happiness, and Zappos said all that, and then they treated you like crap on the phone, you let that go once, maybe twice, but then you stop believing it. So it's not like you can completely make this, but this can really help enforce that. Breathe, Bob.
So two things to your point. I agree. So McDonald's, I think, going the inverse of what you're talking about, they were okay until Super Size Me. So it was that third party telling everybody how bad they were that McDonald's started to go downhill, right? The food's always been the same, but it wasn't until Super Size Me that all of a sudden it's like, oh crap. And then I wholeheartedly agree. I had this conversation actually with Ken and Glenn the other day. Joe was, her campaign was backwards. If it would have been she's with me instead of I'm with her, I think she would have done better, because the whole I'm with her is making it all about her instead of her making it about everyone else.
Well, it was also like, in a nutshell, that statement just means I'm going to vote for her because she's a woman, which nothing wrong with her being a woman, to be clear. I was hopeful. I tried to work with her, but it's like, that isn't convincing almost anyone. Like, that's not like, how about the most
value statement does not bring it. Yeah.
And in that time, she was literally the most seasoned, qualified person that had ever run for president with her experience and resume. But they said nothing about that. They focused on her being a woman. It's like, you missed the boat here. So again, politics, don't need to double down on that. But that's the idea here, is like what you emphasize, what you talk about can also help build that brand. And that's the marketing side of things. So that's how I look at how to build marketing. Now, how to build a business funnel and how to actually get so Hawk Media, I've talked to a lot of like bankers in the space to get feedback on how we're running. We've been touted as we have the best sales and marketing apparatus of any agency out there, period, and stop. And so and I don't think I've actually ever talked on a podcast or anything about this publicly, about like the way we set that up, but we look at it as 3 pillars, so to speak. There's the partnerships team, the marketing team, and the sales team. Sales ends up touching all of it, to be clear, but they all have different efforts to fill the top of the funnel to create that awareness. So again, going back to this, all funnels into the same concept. So awareness. So on the marketing side, we're doing advertising. We're running, we drink our own punch here. All the stuff we sell, we do too. So we're creating, we have Facebook, we have all Meta ads running. We have TikTok ads, we have Twitter ads, and we have Google ads. So that's driving a ton of business. We have a ton of events. We host events, we attend events, we sponsor events, we partner with events, being out and about and visible. We also, for top of the funnel, mentioned again, we wrote a book, sold 30,000 copies of it. Not the worst way to get the brand out there and make more people aware we exist. But this is where, again, the awareness, nurturing, trust thing, the 3 pillars of marketing, it's not, some things overlap. So what's nice about a book is selling a book and getting it on shelves, awareness. I had it in 50 airports around the country. I literally was at the Milken Global Summit last week with all these, leaders of countries, and I got the bookstore to carry it. So our logo is sitting all in the bookstore. Like, that's creating awareness. It's also creating trust because it's got a USA Today best-selling sticker on it. I actually wrote a book, so there's maybe some credibility into what we're saying. There's a lot of that. There's also nurturing, because I send this book to people that have been thinking about working with us. I give it to people to sit on their desk while they're thinking about working with us, so that like during that sales consideration period, they've got a book with all our credibility in it. And they go, oh, wait, I should actually convert and work with these guys. So as an example, that literally can cross over all 3 categories. We have a TV show on the air right now on Hulu and A&E called Kings of Barbecue, where I'm helping Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson launch their barbecue brand that went really well. The brand's doing great. So there's things like that we're always looking like, how do we build And I'd say that is actually more trust. It turns out nobody watches cable TV. So love A&E, but like the viewership's whatever. But when we show clips from that and like Damon John introducing me to Cedric and Anthony and saying, this is the only guy you need to work with. And like, that's the trust piece that comes in, that even 10 years in with a brand, constantly building that trust. So that's a lot of the marketing side. We also do a ton of contributing articles. I write for Forbes and Inc. and Rolling Stone and Entrepreneur and a bunch of other publications. We have press about us. We win a lot of awards. We have our whole email cadence and an email newsletter. Obviously built out a website that generates a lot with a lot of SEO, like all these different things that we have like a robust marketing strategy. Then we have our partnerships. So we build tons of relationships with other people targeting the same customer. And this is where the time versus money thing comes in that I mentioned. If you don't have any money to go spend on marketing, just go develop partnerships. How can I help you and you can help me? How do we introduce people to each other and get business together? And you can start scrappy and build from there. And now we have a 5-person full-time team just focused on that and just focused on channel partnerships and relationships that we're driving business to each other. So that's another big part of the business. And then on the sales side, people do some outbound calls and some outbound emailing, but I'm of the opinion that like that is what you do when you've kind of failed on every other leg. When you can't generate enough through inbound, when you can't generate enough through partnerships, when you can't go to events and meet people, when you can't literally fill your calendar with every other thing you should be able to do, then you got to go cold call and cold email. But it's a last ditch effort. It's the worst time sink. It's the least efficient thing to do in sales. And if you have nothing else going for you, you got to go do that. And so that's how I look at that. I push our sales team to go to a different cocktail hour, dinner, event, something every single day of the week. That is how because you can go to one good event and your month can be made easily. So if you go to, I'm not going to say 20 a month, but you go to 10, you're probably going to do just fine. And the reason I like the event space and being out and about is because that means everyone else in the room has the same attitude I have. I'm out looking for something, trying to make something happen. That is the idea there. It's not like, it's positive, sort of selection bias where it's like everyone in the room showed up versus I emailed someone and they're bored and now I'm going to take 8 months of my time asking questions and they're never going to actually buy anything. They're in the room. They're at this event, which means they are looking for something. If I can be one of those things, we can make something happen. And that's what I really like about that. Same way I like the advertising side. If someone reaches out to us after seeing an ad, they selected to come out. But if someone responds to an email, again, there could be a lot of bad indicators there too. Like why do they have so much time? Like I get spam all day, every day, as I'm sure you guys do too. The people that respond to that surprise me. I'm like, really? They answered?
So I'm doing it to check the box. And for some reason, someone answered me back. Brian's really excited because he's thinking old fashions every night of the week right now. Yeah. Because you just gave him permission to go to all these events and drink. So
it's networking.
You become an alcoholic very quickly when you go to an open bar every single night. So we're not doing, not that I actually went to AA or anything, but I just got to the point where I was like, I'm waking up with a hangover like twice a week. We're done.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be more coherent while I'm there. Yes. Yeah. I tell everybody I can be just as stupid sober as most people can be drunk. So I'll go there and do that instead.
Yep. Okay. So that's really how it breaks down from like how I built this sales organization. And it all started with me personally running a few ads by myself, going to events all the time. And then when I meet people that were looking to find the same customer I was, being like, well, how do we help each other out? That's it. It wasn't that complicated. And then it turned, as you scale a company to 200 plus people, it turns into all these different systems and departments. But originally it was just me managing those 3 things.
No, I love it. I love it. And I like the book thing because book brings awareness and the trust.
Yeah.
With just one action that you've put together.
Yeah, actually content in general is really underrated on the marketing side. Sales, I think, gets it, but marketing, creating content that like serves the same value proposition as your company, meaning like for me, I'm trying to help companies grow. So like let's publish content around how you grow, how you do marketing, how you do these things. The hard thing is it's hard to track the ROI there. You're going to spend a ton of time and you can't like directly track. It's pretty hard. But if you're doing that, that means you're engaging your audience above and beyond a purchase decision, which inherently is going to make them buy more often. They're more engaged. So you got to know that there is some level of lift somewhere with that. And back to word of mouth, people are going to be way more likely to share your content than they're going to share your website or your purchase page. So if you create great content that they feel you can share, you can drive a lot of word of mouth too. Similarly, you can create awareness and trust and nurturing with content. Because again, I'm thinking about buying from you. I'm going to go read your blog. I'm thinking about buying from you. I'm going to go read your blog. Now I understand what you're all about. I trust you more. Like, it can actually cover all three. But in the awareness piece is a little slower because like I wouldn't rely on blogging is going to go, skyrocket and you're going to go viral. But once in a while, something goes crazy and you get a ton of inbound and you get a ton of, and that can happen too. So it can create all three of those as well, just in general content creation.
And it doesn't take a sales genius to close somebody calling you to buy.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't take a lot of the sales.
I remind my sales team of that pretty regularly, but I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, just don't screw it up.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
I led our sales call this morning. We do a morning stand-up, and my line to them was stop overcomplicating it. Because in sales, I think once you get the gist of it, you kind of get like whatever product you're selling, the basics. People get really overcomplicated really fast. And I'm like, give them a value proposition. They know they need it. Like in our business, I'm like, don't talk to anyone that doesn't know they need marketing. That's a waste of your time. Like, there's not many people that believe that, but don't try to convince someone on why they need to market their company. That's absurd. So if you're talking to the right people, which is almost everyone else, then they know they need marketing. Then it's just why you. So explain to them why we're great. Tell them what we're going to do with them. Make sure it fits their strategy and it's going to have a good outcome. And that's it. Stop the conversation. It should take you literally 10 minutes, not 30, not an hour, 10 minutes. First conversation, second conversation, done. Any more than that, you're already talking too much unless you're answering questions. But if they don't have any questions and you keep talking, you're now talking past the sale, which is a very common thing.
Agree. Right. Or you talked past the no, right?
Yeah.
Where they've selected themselves out, and you're like, I think I can make something out of this. Yeah, you can make a pain in the butt customer.
Yeah.
Is what you can make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it should, like, I've never sold anything in that sense. It's like, here's what it is. Here's why I think you need it. Let me know what you want to do. Like, that's what this should go by, but it keeps it simple that way.
So how did you vet what events you started going to, and then you want your salespeople to go to? Because the problem is there's a ton of stuff and you have to decide where am I going to spend my time and or money.
Yeah.
So do you have a filtering mechanism for any of your people? No. Yeah.
It's actually kind of a funny thing here is we just do yes to everything. Go. Again, so this came from like a thesis I had on my last company on the activewear brand Ellie that we sold in a similar way. I decided this was early in influencer marketing. I was like, we're going to send every influencer we can get a hold of. And when that influencer marketing then was bloggers, like Instagram influencers weren't even a thing yet. This is 12 years ago. And I said, we're going to send everyone we can an outfit, top and bottom, a full outfit from our company. We have better than 50% margins. So if on average they sell one product, we paid for it. So we're going to go just blast it out. We sent 1,000 outfits out, cost us 20 grand, and we were just getting started. That drove $1.2 million in sales, that strategy. Because the idea was on average, if this product is any good, if someone can't talk about it and get one customer and they have a blog, on average, we're screwed. We should just shut down now. So why not go for it? It's the same thing for me with events. If on average, you can't go to an event a few events a week and get a customer, which is all we need. We get one client out of a full week of going to events, then it's all paid for itself.
Right. So that's 52 new clients per person in a year.
If you can't do that, either the salesperson's got a problem or like something's wrong with what we're doing. And that was always my theory. It's like, people get really stuck in the minutia of measuring marketing. And I think in some ways, advertising things, it's very important to be measurement focused. We built a whole data AI tool, but I also think there's an art to it too, where it's like, you've just sometimes got to reconcile this has to work. It's just in rational sense, if we do the right things, now the important thing here is let's say it's a salesperson. Is that salesperson going to events and actually meeting people? Obviously go to events that make sense, that are going to potentially have either our target customer or other good channel partners. So something comes out of it. We're probably not going to go to the, Real Estate Agents of America conference, because frankly, real estate agents don't make good clients for us. Real estate brokerages do, but individual agents, they're a little too small for us to help unless we have worked with some of the biggest ones, but they really have to be a big office for us that to make sense. And so it's obviously going to events that should have a bunch of founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, marketers, that kind of thing. sure it's within the target. But like my best event I've been to in the past 6 months was FarmCon in Kansas City on January 4th, because it turns out being in a room of 1,800 agriculture CEOs is a pretty good place to be as a marketer.
Wow.
So
it's because you could spread the BS. I get it.
Yeah, and exactly. And the funny thing is, my business partner brings this up because when we started the company, it was 7 of us around a conference table in a 200 square foot office. And he remembers me spending like an hour on the phone with this guy. I think he was from China, and the guy's just rambling. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe the guy ends up working with us." And sure enough, like two weeks later, he sends us an intro that ends up being a big client. And then like it took like a year, but like a year later, he hired us. And he's like, "I can't believe," like, he's like, "I thought you were nuts to spend an hour just talking to that guy." I'm like, "You never know. Like, you really never know." So it's really about just volume in that sense, depending on your business. But I'm all about like, fill the funnel. If you're in sales, you should be on the phone from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, catching up on your CRM and emails and all that after hours or when you have a no-show, because it's going to happen. And you look up a couple years later and your pipeline's insane, your network's insane, and you're doing well. It's just you create a discipline around it that you can't get away from, where you're just running the reps and you're just filling that, and you're keeping that awareness piece growing, which is your pipeline. And then you just run the process the right way, get people through that pipeline, stay in touch with everyone. That was the last big note I have on sort of secret sauce. I stay in touch with every single person in my contacts on a quarterly basis. I have a reminder. If I haven't emailed someone within 90 days, it lets me know I haven't done that, and I send a quick note. And most of them don't respond. A lot of them will get 10 emails, but then once in a while, I'll see when I look at their email communication with me, I'll see like 4 emails to someone, and then, oh wait, I actually need to talk to you. So it's like staying in touch, the nurturing.
Well, top of mind awareness. Yep.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So that is a big one too, that so many people miss.
That's fantastic. All right. So I'm looking here at hawkmedia.com, right? You've got services, case studies, insights, right? Hawk AI. Can you tell me what Hawk AI is?
Yeah, it's so we basically 8 years ago, it was almost 9 now, I think, talking to a guy named Peter Diamandis. It's really well known for like disruption and exponential innovation. Mm-hmm. And I was on his advisory board, and him and his CEO at the time, Marcus Shingles, we were talking about what's going to disrupt the agency business. And we were debating because they were saying, oh, it's going to be freelancers. I'm like, if you've ever managed 15 freelancers and had 2 of them quit to move to Bali, like, you're never going to build a business off a bunch of freelancers. Like, that is a short-lived, like, miserable.
Herding cats.
Yeah, exactly. Herding cats. So I was never worried about freelancers disrupting my business, but I was like, but we talked a lot about AI just in general because of, again, the space they were in. And I'm like, this seems interesting because if I understand it right, it seems like every job that is based in logic, lawyers, accountants, data engineers, all that are going to be replaced as soon as this thing's real. And I'm like, half my business is strategy and data. Like, it's all about data reading and all that. So like, this is going to replace half my business. I was like, I think creative will take a lot longer, but from a data and strategy perspective, it should replace. And he's like, well, why aren't you building it? I'm like, I'm not an engineer. I know where to start, but sure, I'll get on it. And so what I realized was, number one, I did not have the tens of billions of dollars to build the node that would be the ChatGPT of the future. Again, this was correct. I also got introduced to a guy named Ray Kurzweil, who wrote a timeline that said by 2023, the beginning of 2023 is when we believe that we'll have something that mimics AI. And ChatGPT launched I think it was November of 22. So it's like pretty damn good prediction that he, I think, posted in 2013. And then he believed that by 2029 is when we'll have true artificial intelligence. So using that timeline, I went, okay, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do. This was, again, I'm going to guess early 2016. I'm like, I need to figure out between now and 2023 how I have a strategic advantage when someone else builds that AI. Well, there's one thing that I understood is, like, if you talk about artificial intelligence, something still needs to educate it and teach it, assuming it can comprehend. So that means you need data and information. Well, what do I have in terms of data information that's better than anyone else? Well, I have a ton of marketing data I'm generating, and over the next 8 years, that'll grow. So why don't I start capturing all that data and all my partners' data and every piece of data I can get? And then we also have the insights as to what that data means and what to do with that data. So if we can build a tool that digests all this marketing data from thousands of companies, and then we create insights around what that actually means, I can now, when AI is ready, teach that AI that, and we can have automated marketing strategy. That was a thesis. And I think I mentioned this, but I went through a few bouts of trying to build it and blew, good $1 million on developers that didn't execute what I needed them to. But I was capturing the data the whole time. And so I ended up, long story short, acquiring a small dashboard tech company out of Toronto called Morpheo in the beginning of 2022. We incorporated our data into their dashboard, then added insights and benchmarks and all these things, and launched it in August of 22. A few months later, ChatGPT launches. We plug it into the thing, and we have automated marketing strategy. So that is Hawk AI. Is basically we're digesting about 8,000 companies' marketing, media, and revenue data in real time. We can plug in an individual business, look at exactly what's working, what's not, where their opportunities are across every KPI. We actually, the newest addition is it actually quantifies it. So it says like, you are missing out on $10,000 in revenue per month right here because of this specific problem, so that we can actually show exactly where the best use of your time to fix the low-hanging fruit is. And that's what we've built. And so the goal being, the next step is to start actually making changes to campaigns through that. And then eventually it can actually manage your marketing.
That's fantastic. So you, on your website, you list off free consultation. Who's the client that should be reaching out to you?
Yeah, we still stick by, we want to be the easiest to work with, but the best at what we do. So we are, I'd say if you don't have $10,000 to spend on marketing a month and be able to do it consistently, don't hire anyone. You need to go build your business. And if you do have that, we can start there. And then again, it's not we're too good for it line. It's, if you don't have that, you're not in a place to hire people. You got to keep growing. You got to either go raise money or you got to drive some revenue, because you're going to hire someone for $1,000. They're going to waste your $1,000. We have tons of people say, I've got $2,000, $3,000, whatever, $4,000, and we go, keep it. Call us when you can spend more, because it's just going to be blown. It's an unlikely chance that that's going to be successful. You need to have enough of a war chest to be able to go with it. So $10,000 a month is where we start. I mean, we've worked with every industry. Name an obscure industry, and we've probably done business with it. It's actually kind of fun these days, because it's literally, we've worked with 5,000 different companies at this point.
Wow. Facial analysis companies.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Well, I
think we
do have to drop. So I do have to leave to go to a networking event, but now I've got two Hubermans I have to follow on a regular basis. So I appreciate all the info today.
I have a podcast called Hawk Talk. Andrew was on it right before he blew up. So, because
there you go.
Apparently.
And we're going to give you credit for that.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I wish I could say I was marketing. By the way, it's funny. I go to conferences all the time and I have my name tag, Eric Huberman, and then whatever Hawk Media usually below it. And people go, "Oh, you work with Andrew Huberman?" I'm like, no, that's my name. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really just me. So let's do that. Bob, any questions?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by agency. What do you think goes into making a great agency in today's market versus 18 months ago, even?
Oh, good question. I would say up until about 2 years ago, you could fake it on social media and fake it on a lot of these ad platforms because they were doing everything for you. Now you got to actually know marketing. So we've seen agencies just get demolished because 22 and 23, everyone cutting costs and the whole rhetoric of the economy of we got to pull back because the recession's coming. If you didn't run a good business that was actually driving good results and communicating that well, you're really in trouble. And so you've got to really know what you're doing, really be good at it, and be good at communicating it. Communication is number one most important thing in an agency. So reporting and communication is really important. And then on top of that, actually doing good work. So it drove, because everyone started really heavily scrutinizing everything. And then it stabilized. It went really strict in 22, kind of stabilized in 23, and it's starting to come back in 24 in terms of people getting more aggressive about their growth. But for a while, people stopped caring about growth and were like, we'll keep it if it's driving revenue, but if it's not, get out. And so mission critical is the word I hear a lot. If you can't prove that you're mission critical, you're done. So that's what's changed on the agency side, in my opinion, which has created a ton of stress for a lot of people that don't have that ability.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
No, that's fantastic.
Because we hear so many people talking about agency this, agency that,
right.
And then I think somewhere in the timeline, in my opinion, people don't understand what agency is and what agency isn't. And so it just ends up being this hodgepodge of it's kind of a word salad.
Yeah. And for us, we're, marketing partner. We're here to take over everything I just talked about, awareness, nurturing, and trust. We can run that piece for you and and we're also a la carte. So it's we're going to plug in exactly where we can be helpful. if you have other things handled, that's fine. And we just focus on executing, driving returns, and paying for ourselves, and then some. And that's where we get sticky. And our team mainly manages to a retention metric. We want to know that we're going to be kept a long time and stick around and keep our clients.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Definitely. Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you for taking the time out, Eric. I know you're in the middle of moving between offices, so I appreciate you taking the time, coming out here. Hawkmedia.com, the best place for anybody to connect with you.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm @Eric Huberman on all the social channels, and obviously Hawk Method, Hawk Talk, pretty easy to find.
Perfect. I will be following the podcast.
Appreciate you.
Let me write that down. So perfect. Thank you so much. For everybody that's out here, you just learned so much that you're going to have to watch the replay over and over again.
Right.
I had somebody who was going to be on screen says, I'm currently with a client, because our people gotta actually sell. And so he's like, and this is like the worst one I could miss, because he's got it in his ear while he's trying to talk to people. I'm like, that's why it's recorded. Okay. Perfect. It's on the podcast for a reason. So get out there. So I think Tom summed it up perfectly before, that you are legendary.
Nice. Appreciate you, Tom.
Yeah. Brian earlier was like, is Tom with Eric? I'm like, nope. Tom just knows how to throw out the good stuff. He keeps track of everything for us. So thank you very much, Eric. Bob, thank you. Brian, thank you for leaving early.
You guys.
But overall, thanks so much. Everybody else, get out there and go sell something.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Fantastic.